Welcome to the world-famous King Tut Museum. Be sure to respect the ancient relics. The ancient Egyptians were a magical people who built numerous beautiful, magnificent structures, like the world-famous pyramids and temples. No running inside. Scientists till this very day still do not know how the Egyptians built the pyramids.
I wonder, did aliens ever visit ancient Egypt?
Wow, look at that giant Egyptian statue. It looks just like you, Jason.
Thanks, Toby. You're a super cool friend. Imagine what the world would look like if I was the pharaoh.
Jason, you are daydreaming. Wake up.
Sorry, history got away from me.
You are now
not going
rocking
live
with Jason Elm Street.
Don't forget the money, man.
I love America, but she's so dangerous, dangerous. I love America, but she's so dangerous. Somebody call her Superman. I am made of kryptonite. The wolves say it's child time. Well, we about to eat tonight. What happened on Epstein Island? Did it really take your life? I'm deeper than the ocean floor and higher than a satellite. Yes, I am an alchemist. I murder rebel sales gang. Walk with no religion. It's the return of the ancient Egyptians. West Coast, California. My family is Riverside. Inland Empire. None of ain't a lullaby. This is where the gods dwell and a lot of mothers cry. You can feel the thunder cry. Choctaw Nation. Future chief on the rise. From a different dimension. Star Trek Enterprise. I love America, but she's so dangerous, dangerous. I love America, but she's so dangerous, dangerous. Authentic jewels around my neck, dripping like King Tut. Pop locking on the pyramids, Scotty beat me up. I'm manifested as a god, I in my hieroglyphs. Yes, I am so cold, I can swim in a lava pit. My father who art in heaven, returning in the mothership. Dropping missiles and bombs, sinking the devil's battleship. Roswell crashes, UFO flying saucers. I'm the rap Captain EO, call me the Sunwalker. I'm the rap Captain EO, call me the Sunwalker. I love America, but she's so dangerous, dangerous. I love America, but she's so dangerous. Rocking with Jason Elm Street.
All aboard! It is time to hop aboard my spaceship, as you are now tuned into What is the Matrix TV with your host, Jason Elm Street Williams, Master of the Universe. As you guys know, California is on fire. So let's get into it. As you know, Cali is an ancient goddess. So the word and name California is not just after Empress Califia or Queen Califia, who we will show right here, and we'll get into Disneyland. So everyone right now watching this live, I want you to type in Queen Califia, and then type in California Disney, because recently, not too long ago, they removed the statue of Queen Califia in the painting of Queen Califia at California Disney. So right there in Disneyland, they were giving you a brief history of how the spirit of California was cultivated and created. So California was named after Queen Khalifa, and it once again proves an indigenous, aboriginal, Moorish, Nubian, dark-skinned, woolly hair presence in California prior to European conquest. So when you type in, it's called Golden Dreams, California Disney, and it's a movie that Disneyland had, and they tell you that Queen Califia ruled California. So once again, as you see, the ancestors are speaking right now through Cali. And who is Cali? Cali is an ancient deity. So everyone looking at this right now, we're going to type in Goddess Cali. You can also find Cali when you type in Cali Indian or India goddess. So it talks about the ashes of salt work, which is obtained from the ashes of burnt vegetables and humans. Kali goddess is the goddess of destruction, transformation, and purification by fire. So right now we know that Los Angeles is the main place that this is taking place. So I have a special guest for us coming on in from the reigns of the, what do they call it? The City of Angels, the great, magnificent teacher, Brother Cripjesus.
Yeah, in the city by the sea. You know what I'm saying? Pun intended.
Peace, God.
Now,
introduce yourself real quick and let them know where you're from.
for those that don't know, you know, it's not a joke. It's not a game. We're not here to be funny. Let me get big on the screen real quick if you could, if you don't mind. It's the blue god that you got to take her down.
Okay.
It's the blue god, the true god, leader of the Black Illuminati, King El Allah, better known as Cripjesus, author of the Blue Bible. You know what I mean? And yes, you see mine is a little rusty because I use mine. I really be in there. And if you go to page 114 of the Blue Bible, it will tell you before Disney got her, before even our people got her, because that's not a name, it's a title, it's a science behind it. It was a novel written, and it was called Las Sargas de Esplandian. Okay. So on page 114 of the Blue Bible, and I will be leaving the website here if y'all want to tap in to get your copy. It is written in the novel Las Sargas de Esplandian that California was ruled by a Moorish empress who assisted the Muslims in war against the Christians in Turkey. So it's not about we trying to say, girl, be quiet and say Assalamu alaikum and wrap your head up. We talking about your real bloodline as warriors, as Amazons, who really fought historically. We're talking about even in Africa and all throughout the Americas and all throughout Asia. It was Moorish empress smashing the Christians all the way to the capital in Turkey. This story of Califia is the story of the original people. Her mystery is filled with the animal called griffin. The griffin symbolizes the Tartarian Empire. Get your copy. It goes deeper. Okay. So Queen Califia is the missing link between many sciences, from the island of Mu to the original Moors of the Americas, the Moors, to the Amazon women. You feel what I'm saying? To the Spanish lands of the West.
Definitely.
They're reclassified.
And I also have a book as well called Queen Califia and the Island of California. So go ahead, keep breaking it down, because a lot of people, when they hear the word Califia or Khalifa, they don't understand that that's a title. Just like Pharaoh, when certain books, let's say the Bible, when they say, oh, the Pharaoh did this, the Pharaoh did that, according to the Bible doesn't specify which Pharaoh. There were pre-dynastic, there were the Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom, Old Kingdom, different dynasties. So Pharaoh is a title, just like president, just like Christ. Christ is a title, not a person. So
yes, Christ comes from Christ is a Latin title, I believe, coming from the crux, and crux, and it's based on the Aramaic title Messiah or Messiah, and then you have Pharaoh, I believe, is Greek, and it means like great house,
lighthouse.
Yeah, so the house of light and the great house. So, but if I'm not mistaken, they used to call them like the Nagas or Nagal. Yeah,
Correct.
I don't want to say natives because if you're born there, you're native, but the indigenous people of the Nile River, like that was the titles they used. And you know what blew my mind when I found that out was that they still use it on the bottom of the Nile River. When you look at the Ethiopian, the Eritreans, when they say Naga, Nigas,
Nagas,
because the first king in Islam, the Arabs kind of buried this. The first king in Islam that Muhammad ran to for refuge, the Arabs was on them. When he had to run to Allah for help, when he had to run to Allah for help, he ran to the Nigas. You know what I'm talking about? He ran to East Africa. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So right here, you guys, when we talk about the destruction and fire, we see California wildfires line up exactly in the same path as the California high-speed rail system. So we know that Elon Musk is building underground tunnels in Las Vegas. We know that there's already underground tunnels connected in Hollywood that were taken over from ancient civilizations, and we know that they use those tunnels for human trafficking recently. And we know that Hollywood is already under fire. So now that Hollywood is under fire, it is now physically under fire. And so now you're seeing all these celebrities who made money promoting a satanic lifestyle. And this is one thing you guys have to remember, that all these places where they lived are gated communities. These aren't where a normal person can just go ahead and move there. So you hear about Hollywood and people talk about the sets and learn about why they call it set. But when we talk about the Hollywood sets and the parties, they just talk about the Hollywood Hills. No. Outside of Hollywood, these communities, this is where the blood sacrificing is taking place. This is where the children dungeons are underneath. This is where all that debauchery outside of Hollywood is taking place. They're burning down the evidence. They're burning down the evidence. And not only that, they're creating new landways for, like our brother Cripjesus and I were speaking on, smart cities. So Elon Musk is soon going to be connected to these tunnels because we know that they're using electric cars. They're pushing that right here in California. Electric cars. They just found the world's largest lithium deposit in Riverside County at the Salton Sea. So it is no coincidence where Elon Musk plans to create his railroad, the fires are taking place because they plan to build a new Hollywood in where? Sin City. Viva Las Vegas. This is why they built the new football stadium. They're building a new basketball stadium, a baseball stadium, and they're building new movie studios in Las Vegas. They're building the tunnel systems from Las Vegas to the Inland Empire. It's already stated that the tunnels have already been built from San Francisco to Los Angeles. The railroad is going to be running 220 miles per hour. So we're going to have a high-speed railroad system from the Bay to the Inland Empire. So here we go. Those of us who live in the Inland Empire, Riverside County, you know that it's one of the top 10 largest counties in America. And you see all the housing development. So when you're driving in Riverside County, you're like, wow, these houses being built. It's because they intelligently designed these events for a massive exodus out of Los Angeles and these counties to Riverside County. And the poor people are going to be going to Lancaster, Sun City, Palmdale. And those who can afford it to leave Orange County in Los Angeles, they're going to come to the Inland Empire. Cities like Riverside, Temecula, Lake El Sanor, Sun City, all Moorish ancient Egyptian names. And then the lower class so-called poor people are going to move to San Bernardino. Cities like Paris, Menifee, which we learn is another ancient Egyptian deity, Min. So when you learn about Harupa Valley, Heru, Heru, but they changed it to Haru. So right there in Riverside County. Then you have Corona, the crown of Riverside County. Then you have the now Riverside. So all this is a planned exodus, y'all. They also said Ross Perot, I believe in 1992, said that there would be an earthquake and that Riverside County would be beachfront property. And that's why a lot of the celebrities are always in Palm Springs. They're buying up all this land back here in Riverside County because Riverside County used to be beachfront property. And the ocean went back and resided to what you now call Los Angeles. So, brother,
I want to say,
go ahead.
In my new book, see if I can get that up there. Damn, I hate when I can't show it up there.
How do we change the background when we're live? Are we able to change it like when you're showing your book and you see how it's blurry?
Yeah, you could change the settings. Like
Okay.
right now, I could take it off.
Okay, I see. Thank you. So go ahead. I'm gonna try to get your Bible up there too, but I'm listening.
No, I could put it there on the overlay. We'll get to
Okay.
that. Matter of fact, now let me do it right now. Let's see if I can get this up here right now as we talking. So the point I wanted to make was about the underground tunnels you're talking about.
Yes.
So, some people think that's just, make believe or trying to find a direct picture, but we use this one. So yeah, I'll leave something down there in the description. The website y'all can tap in. You can download the ebook too for $13. Physical. So look, page 45 of the Black Indian Wars. Or I'll leave my number as well. Y'all can just hit me directly. The Underground Railroad is not just a metaphor for fugitives. It is literal. On January 29th, 1934, Los Angeles Times printed a story about a lost civilization underneath Hollywood's Fort Moore Hill. The location was later destroyed and classified Broadway Tunnel. What's being hidden are the ancient tunnels that run all throughout the Americas. They lead to South America. Okay. So the way they confuse you is first they make you think the Underground Railroad is like a metaphor term for some people, and then they tell you it goes up to Canada. You know what I mean? But it's literally under the ground and it goes south. You know what I mean? I just wanted to add that on there. So what you were saying, how they go west, south, and they were used to get away from the occupier.
So you're saying that back in the day, we had already built tunnels. There's an actual ancient tunnel system.
Yeah, in LA, the Broadway Tunnel, they blocked it off. You get what I'm saying? They even used part of these tunnels to make some of the subway rail that we have now. Like this is they act like, oh, look, we just dug this up out of nowhere, but they know exactly where they're going and what's down there.
Exactly.
Or at least what they know of it. Because that's what the whole point of Black Illuminati is. There are Moors who have the knowledge that was passed down to them, more than they may know.
Yes, because when you go to Los Angeles, they shut down those subways. And once again, those subways are on top of city by city as well. Even when you go to New York, there's the main subway, but they also admit that there's another old subway system. So that lets us know that prior to European invasion, y'all, us as indigenous people had the technology and the knowledge to build underground tunnels.
Well, look how often they do it in Mexico. Despite the fact that there are tunnels there already, we can have that discussion, but that's just conjecture. I really don't know how much knowledge of how do I want to word this, of tunnels pre-existing are involved in the tunnels used by smugglers from Mexico. I don't know. But however, I will say that the speediness and the comfort with which they create tunnels, like it's nothing.
Yes.
There's a lot to the history of creating tunnels over there. Does that make sense? Like
you
hear about them, like you hear about a drug dealer over there, they be like, oh yeah, he just left out of here. They just made the tunnel and just carried them right out. You be like, what the? You think of an American, right. You're like, where is niggas just making tunnels out of nowhere like that, right?
Exactly. And not only that, how sophisticated when they show you how they're able to go to certain houses and do it from here. It's like, okay, do certain groups have technology, ancient technology?
Well, this is what it does prove for sure, that there's a handed down tradition of it.
Correct. So I was going to say, for one, you landed correctly. As I had studied that as well, when you said, is there already an ancient network of tunnels? Mm-hmm. Is there something handed down, like when you travel to Africa or even Atlanta, for example, when you're in Kemet and you see these, and they were teaching me about my science, our science. This is passed down. Not every person is going to be able to learn or know how to sculpt these and the angles and what they mean, right? So it's exactly what you're saying, is that they passed down that culture down in secret. I would start. I don't like to talk about too much street stuff, but when I was locked up at Robert Presley with the Mexican brothers, they were talking about the tunnels and stuff and drug smuggling and all that. But they also were talking about the deities that they pray to. And that they pray to, we would like to say dark or negative, but they pray to certain deities, whether it's blood sacrificing deities, war deities. So in my head, when they're, I would say, listening and teaching me this, I'm picturing it. And then I said, oh, they've been passing down. For example, when I used to go to my Puerto Rican or Cuban friend's house who looked Mexican, but I found out they would always have candles, and they had like the pale skinned Jesus, the saints. So in my head, I was like, man, they over here worshiping so-called European deities. But once I got more into their family, the grandma and mom were like, we believe what you believe in Elm Street or Jason. This saint is actually Abatala. This saint is this, Yemenia. And I was like, oh, wow. So when you guys are praying to this one, she was like, yeah, it's everything you're saying.
So it was like Santeria or something?
It was Santeria, but they're basically breaking it down. As far as you as a brother, we didn't know how much we could trust you. We're not going to tell a normal, so-called Black American who might not know Santeria and the different deities, what they actually practice as a family. So once again, that let me know that in public, a lot of our Latin brothers and sisters might say that they're Catholic and pray to Saint Mary, but when the doors are closed and you're not around, they're practicing their ancient deities. And so that's how the cartels and stuff are able to move invisibly and get away with certain things, because they're still tapping in to those so-called underworld deities that give them power to get busy. And so just like when they say Steve Jobs and these Europeans go and do these ceremonies in the Amazon and talk to our ancient deities and get information, that's because they have our people distracted on Jesus worship, Christianity, and TV, all these working for them, all these distractions and fear-based tactics, so we don't tap into the names and sounds and frequencies of our ancient deities and ancestors that are going to give us the pure information. So other so-called cultures are now able to tap in to these deities because we're not calling on them, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. So there's deities up in those hills that are burning that they've been calling on. For those of us who were in Hollywood and know a lot, who were able to escape and didn't sign certain contracts, you know that they were slicing kids wide open in those backyards. You know, underneath those mansions where models go missing and stuff, they put something in your drink and you're being initiated into Hollywood. You know that you've seen things. You know, you've seen people on these pentagram tables with the chants, them cutting people wide open and hearing their scream, and deities coming down, and you seeing them visibly. Your favorite celebrity right there, drinking out of the cauldron of fresh blood. Like, so these things exist. They're real. And that's how they feed the beast. And so up in those hills, all these different deities, even the ones that they make up. So what they did, like they say, manifest destiny. When they came in the name of Jesus and other entities that the public may not know, they would simply, as you know, draw a sigil, any type of spell, right? Even if it's a line or whatever, you draw the sigil, you put the tone and name, and you manifest your destiny. Let's say you wanted to manifest gifts bearing fruit, bringing herbs to someone. That would manifest your destiny with that. While others manifested their destiny by killing you, murdering you, shedding blood. And then they would chant the name. And that's how the entity of like the Jesus worship and all that came here, is because they manifested their destiny by feeding their deity, which is blood and fire. So those of us who are Aboriginal, indigenous to the Americas, like I am Washita and Choctaw, so they would burn the trees down, because like in the movie Avatar and all that, they're showing you that we were the tree walkers, the skywalkers, the Williams. We were in Louisiana and we would live amongst the trees. That's where you get the word tree houses, because we literally would live amongst the trees. But when the Europeans came, do you guys remember the lumberjacks? When the lumberjacks came, they were cutting down the trees to bring us down. And then they would set fire to these forests and cities where we live. And then they would set fires to the underground tunnels. So from my communication, they've been finding our ancestors' hideouts and tunnels, and they're burning them out. There's some that are the Hollywood people who have been using our ancient tunnel networks. And then there's our ancestors who've still been living underground, who they found. So it's still a war underneath the ground. There's a war in the sea, and there's a war in the sky. And there's a war now in our minds. They're using these fear tactics that are already planned to keep you in a state of hysteria when you're supposed to be in hibernation right now. They told you it's the new year, but imagine you as a bear being woken up out of your hibernation and all this is going on. So you are that bear. You are supposed to be in hibernation, but we're dealing with a group of people who have a nonstop obsession with distracting you and implementing and implanting a false reality in your mind, which is a false time loop. So they use these dates, these months, these hours, and events to trap you in their reality that truly doesn't exist. And this is why it's imperative for us to learn our Aboriginal indigenous history so we don't get trapped in their created matrix. So, Brother Cripjesus, I'm going to throw this picture up. Our ancestors wrote our history in stone. This is the Temple of Abu Simbel. I visited this place. And then you have Hollywood right now burning. And it says the Caucasians use film to write themselves into history. So Hollywood was used to interject a false application, a false reality to the minds of the viewers using books, media, false education, newspapers. And so imagine if Hollywood didn't exist, would the rest of the world still revere us as gods, Cripjesus?
You say if Hollywood didn't exist?
Yeah, because they use Hollywood, for example, when we use, let's say we say ancient Egypt. If they didn't have Hollywood, the only evidence of the true called real Egyptians are in stone, and they look like us. But through Hollywood, they were able to create fake artificial sets and realities and distribute the ancient Egyptians as pale-skinned Europeans, just like they did with the image of the original Christ that would look like us. They projected an image using Hollywood to infiltrate people's minds to make them believe something they never would. So this is almost as if it's a rewriting and a reset of history, of the opportunity for us to learn the truth. So go ahead. I know I might be rambling at this point.
No, no. I got you clarifying it for me. I might have an interesting answer for you. So I see what's going on in Hollywood as a result of something that's been going on for 6,000 years. So I can't give them that much power. Now, I do get what you're saying, though. So I do agree with you in the sense of, and I do agree with you in the sense of that's what Hollywood is doing, or that's what Hollywood is attempting to do. But
I'm trying to go full screen with you.
When you look at like how you compared it to the image of Jesus Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
They started that campaign about like 400 or 500 years ago. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, so, I get you. Yeah.
So Hollywood is like at the back end of it. But
I agree.
But let's get to that campaign. Why is it that this Italian version of Jesus was so like everywhere, right? And what you gotta understand is that this marketing campaign, this worldwide marketing campaign they had going on, was based on the British Empire being everywhere. So the real problem is that the American, leave that up there. The American media is all over the world, like the British Empire. You feel what I'm saying? And when you add in the fact that, okay, for example, the Catholic Moors that ran the Spanish Empire had more land than the U.S., right? But the thing is, whose tongue dominates the world? Because the groundwork that the UK had already laid down, and they were all over the place, the U.S. was able to piggyback off of them with the English tongue. You get what I'm saying? So it's like anything that's dealing with British culture or U.S. culture, they got the English tongue in common. They piggyback off each other. So now the English tongue is dominating the world, right?
And
Now, this is what I mean by that. Is that
I had a question. Keep going, but would that also mean, because my studies lead me to a lot of Latin, and I feel like a lot of the advanced information is in Latin. Could that be part of the takeover of our mind, where more of English instead of Latin?
well, no, because I'm saying more English because England is the capital in the center of the United Kingdom of the British Empire. So that,
Right,
so
but
the English language is the language
but Spain was ruling first, so that would be the main language before the English came, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, no, I was saying that if you look at the size of territory that the U.S. was able to conquer and implement the English language, is nothing in comparison to the Moors did from Spanish, right? Even though they were Catholic those days, they were still Moors. Now, the point I'm saying is that the reason why it seems more big and around the world is because the British took over India and Australia and Southeast Asia and all these different islands throughout the Pacific and different parts of Europe and different parts of Africa. So when you got everywhere that speaks English with the Britain because of the Britain, everywhere that speaks English because of the US, then it looks bigger. So with that being said, it seems like when we look at their media, oh man, you know what I mean, they controlling the world, and they kind of are. But if you think about it, the reason they're even able to do that is because we've already been following them. Europe has had a tight hold on pop culture, if you will. The Europe has had a tight hold on pop culture for a minute, for a long time before TV. If you think about it, you know what I mean. That's why they're able to look. It's bigger than even just black or white. Even the brothers, even the Moors that were in Europe, they were like the most popular in the world. Beethoven and you get what I'm saying. Who's the most popular Moor from Africa? Tariq Zahid, because he went to Europe. Like these are the celebrities, right? So what happens is this. I'm gonna land my plane right here. What happens is this: whoever is telling the story is gonna make it look like them. If you look at Jesus in China, they're gonna make the Chinese Jesus, right? So the Europeans that are in control of the film put the European, Egyptian, whatever. The real problem is that we forgot who we are. That's why we don't have any control of the narrative. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, when we take back control, when we take back who we are, then we control the narrative. We don't control the narrative now because, the truth is, we only seem to talk about these things when we're ready to argue in public. You know what I mean? A lot of our brothers and sisters don't know who they city council is. A lot of them call themselves, niggas and bitches and stuff like that. And they don't take these things seriously. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm talking about even my own family, my own father, my own, you know what I mean? Like my own cousins and nieces and nephews, they're not really teaching their children who they are. They just feel like it's something cool to hear. Maybe check me out on YouTube real quick, Maybe they don't look at it like I'm buying this book for the family. They look at it like I'm showing you some support. Let me give you a few dollars to show some support. They not, oh damn, okay, yeah, I need to make sure cousin whoop know this, and sister, because what will your family look like if all the kids know this? Look what I turned into. From what my parents did tell me. They don't understand half of what we talking about. So just planting that seed alone, right? So for sure, Hollywood is burnt down what was left of the image of the original people. But the sad part is, me and you were meant to be, brother, because a lot of this stuff we're talking about, they just dug up in the last 100 years.
Facts.
They just dug up Tut and Nefertiti and Ankh. They just dug all that up in the last 100 years. Or the last 200 years, since the 1800s, you get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was meant to be that people like me and you get in these TV screens, these computers, and tell our side of the story. You know
So
what I mean?
right here,
What I'm trying to say is the TV only been around as long as we've been revealing this. As long as they've been digging, as soon as they start digging us out the sand, it was like, put the TV up there. Birth of a Nation. Remember, that's one of the first movies in Hollywood, Birth of a Nation, a super racist movie.
brainwashing people to destroy our image, just like America 1492, y'all. Right here, please be sure to check it out. There's a reason why when you open it up, I love to talk about this book. You see us. You see us right there. And so when we talk about America, a lot of the times, us as dark-skinned, woolly-haired people, we don't attach ourselves to this land because the majority of our people believe and been bred to believe that we only came to America as slaves from Africa. Once you start understanding that you've been here already and you've been here the whole time, life is going to get more exciting for you, and then you're going to be able to connect the dots on why they're doing and creating all these events to distract you from your true story, which is a mystery, which is my story, our true timeline of a people on who we are as a culture. And so this is
right here as a culture. So when we talking about the tribe, this is the problem with a lot of brothers. A lot of people just want information. Oh yeah, I want to know that. That's cool. But what you're looking for is your cult. Because when you find your circle of people that you come from, that's why it says honor your mother and father that your days may be long. Yes, it means honor them in heart and accept they flaws or whatever. Yeah, we got that philosophically, but also your bloodline. Because when you find the bloodline of your mother and your father, you know how to eat right, how to chant right, how to sleep right, where you come from and how your people digest and move and think that your days may be long. You can pass that down to your children. Just telling them the name of their tribe, they can go back and learn from them. You get what I'm saying? If they know the story of because you may be Cherokee, but Cherokee freedmen or whatever, so you don't learn the story of your mother and father, right? As much as you can to reconnect to that real self. So you talking about the hair, right? So I touch on that in the book, right? So check this out. Because you had the Indians that were brought here as coolies, right? Then you have
Seminoles.
Florida.
Talk about it.
The Seminole brother, right? So this is a style that goes to the Western Hemisphere for sure. Feel me? And I wrote in here, excavations at the Muir site in 1997 under the direction of Mark Williams revealed mounds, pyramids in Georgia that were 1,100-year-old Mayan ruins. Cite Richard Thornton at examiner.com. In 2010, archaeologist Johannes Lobser wrote that excavations at the Track Rock archaeological site halted after graves were found. Considering the Fort Center mounds discovered in Florida, it appears the south of the U.S. is the site of an ancient Mayan civilization protected by the so-called Africans. Their locks, known today as wicks, were a warrior hairstyle. You know what I'm saying? So they would put the red on the tip to imitate like a wick on fire. You know what I'm saying? So since them times, Fort Moses and just countless towns, Black Wall Street, they've always played with fire to burn our ancestors, sites down.
Exactly. Always using fire, coincidentally. Go ahead and talk about that while I bring some pictures up on that. I'm trying my best to get some pictures of the Tulsa.
Well, I wanted to compare it to the Great Fire of 1805 in Detroit. Now, me being, strongly into math and mathematics, at first I was looking at the Great Fire. I was like, why is this fire so important? 1805, the Great Fire of Detroit. And I knew about the War of 1812. Now, the War of 1812 always stood out to me because it's not just one war. It's a series of wars. So I'm like, what makes 1812 and the War of 1812 so important? So what I found is this early 1800s is the time of the Barbary Wars, when U.S. was just starting and the presidents were having to pay money to the Sultan in Morocco, and they decided they didn't want to pay anymore with Thomas Jefferson, so they were going back and forth in the conflict with them. At this time, they were getting into conflict with many of what you would call Indians over here and Moors, like the British and all that, and the French.
Keep talking.
This major war, I feel it's no coincidence that you had this major fire in the middle of this major war. Now, this major fire I found interesting is because when I went to Detroit and I got off the plane and shot the G-body, told me, hey, man, you hear this is, I said, man, this architecture looks beautiful. He said, this is French. I said, okay, Detroit. He said, no, Detroit. I said, oh, Detroit. And so I was so excited, but I thought about something when I started studying. Even the great architecture I was looking at and the history I was in awe of was new because the city was burnt down in 1805. So what was it like before then? Now, they want you to believe that Motown come from Motor Town, like it's about car vehicle engines and stuff like that. But let's go to the Blue Bible, right? BlackIlluminati.com. We're going to leave the link down there. So it says, Chicago was built by the Creole man Du Sable, and Detroit was built by the Creole man Cadillac. Both were hubs for North America's original people. Detroit was called Motown because of motor. Detroit was not called Motown because of motors. It is Moortown. It has the highest population of Muslims in North America. Detroit's Great Fire of 1805 led to the War of 1812. The war led to the death of our prophet Tecumseh of the Shawnee Nation. It is no coincidence that all of this took place during the Barbary Wars.
In Barbary Wars. Go ahead, brother.
So on the morning of June 11, 1805, the city of Detroit caught fire and nearly everything was destroyed. The blaze is believed to have begun in or near the stables of John Harvey, the local baker. While no official cause was determined, it was rumored that hot ashes from a pipe started the fire. One of the first buildings that caught fire was a nearby barn, from which flames spread quickly to other wooden structures. The population of Detroit at that time was about 600 people. Who helped rebuild Detroit after the fire of 1805? Augustus Brevoort Woodward, born Elias Brevoort Woodward, was the first Chief Justice of the Michigan Territory. In that position, he played a prominent role in the reconstruction of Detroit following a devastating fire in 1805. That's the Great Lakes region right there. And their goal was to destroy that because that was the center of government for what they called the Indians. At that time, that was the Iroquois Confederacy. Matter of fact, let's go to the Black Indian Wars. Tap in for your copy, man. For the website. We go to Black Indian Wars page 19. Did the Pilgrims civilize the Indians? No. The British arrived. No. When the British arrived, the Iroquois Confederacy already possessed the government and constitution created by their prophet, Decanaweda. King Charles II recognized the so-called Indians as kings and queens in the Articles of Peace, 1677. Let me see if I can go back to that for y'all. So there goes the Articles of Peace, See, it says articles of peace between the most serene and mighty prince Charles II, by the grace of God, King of England, Scotland, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith. Hold on, faith and Indian kings and queens, etc. So, Indian kings and queens, not Indian peasants, not Indian tribes and chiefs, kings and queens. These are our ancestors right here. They recognize as kings. So when they say, "Oh, why y'all always saying y'all kings and queens?" It just was a couple of kings. It wasn't everybody was a king. No, everybody was. We had empires. Don't listen to the haters. Now,
and while Brother Cripjesus is breaking this down, we're studying this one of the books for the doctoral programs, The Seminole Wars, America's Longest Indian Conflict. So right now, Brother Cripjesus is really breaking down authentic people that you can do research on. And so one of the things that I want everyone to start catching on to is that they did a colorization of history, in particularly the ancient Americas, replacing us as the Aboriginal people with people that look like this. But when inside of the book they describe the original people of Florida, page 10, it says, the most unusual of the numerous groups that made up the Indian population of Florida were not red men, they were black. So right there in a scholarly book, it teaches you that when the so-called Europeans came, the red Indian that you see pumped today in the school systems and pumped on TV is not truly what we say the Aboriginal or indigenous, but did not have the mass population when they came to Florida. So therefore, when we speak of the Aboriginal or so-called Black Indians, when it comes to scholarly research, they admit that the true Indians and the people who they found in Florida with all these advanced buildings were us. And then we link it to what Brother Cripjesus was saying with the Barbary Wars. This scholarly book says the end of the Barbary Wars right here. America's 1815 war against the pirates of North Africa. So in 1815, they were going to war with brothers and sisters who look like you and I. So when we hear the word Barbary or Tartary, refer to it as yourselves. These words are key. So keep going, Cripjesus. I just wanted to show people that the evidence that you're speaking on, we're across from California from each other, and yet the evidence that you're providing, I can go look in my research and it's saying the same exact thing. Amazing.
Yes,
and then sorry, this part what Cripjesus was showing you. You see how they show Brother Cripjesus was showing you the dreadlocks, he gave a specific name. So when you see these so-called red Indians, they're mimicking the locks you see on the brothers right there, just like the world does today. But go ahead, brother. I'm listening.
So it says tensions originated in long-standing differences over territorial expansion in North America and British support for Tecumseh's Confederacy, who opposed U.S. colonial settlement in the Old Northwest. This is why it's so important to understand the Moorish paradigm being played here, because when we start separating ourselves and saying we're this and we're that and not understanding who we are as a whole, this sounds crazy to us. British had support for Tecumseh's Confederacy, but when you understand who the British were, I know this is called the Black Indian Wars, but it covers all of that. Here goes King George III right here. So you realize that when
Put a
the
little
British,
closer.
the French, the Spanish, all of these original people who had slaves and all of that, when they realized what the U.S. was doing, they were not in support of it. You know what I mean? So this is when you had the American Revolution and the French Revolution. The American Revolution was to go against the British crown. The French Revolution was to go against the French crown. Both Moorish bloodlines that upheld our people. So that's why you had the French and Indian Wars. That's why you had the War of 1812, where the French at first on the crown supported the Moors here. That's why you had the Barbary Wars all at the same time. So, you know, basically they all decided at the same time to hop on the spaceship.
Interesting, dog.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely. But I want to hear the original. I want to hear my song before I even get the energy on this. So the world doesn't get it mistaken.
Pop my collar, you know what I mean? I'm living in a spaceship, trying to earn my spaceship. Living in a matrix, my collar, you know what I mean? I'm living in a spaceship, trying to earn my spaceship. Living in a matrix. Just slide it in. Just slide it in. Everybody, clap your hands. Everybody, clap your hands. Come on. Pop my collar, you know what I mean? I'm living in a spaceship, trying to earn my spaceship. Living in a matrix, my collar, you know what I mean? I'm living in a spaceship, trying to earn my spaceship. Living in a matrix. Is it me, or do we all have dreams? Believe in yourself, achieve anything. We are about to rise on the blocks, hustling, working 9 to 5. I be Queen Khalifa surfing, not a goddess. Why you working, swerving down them lanes, bending corners, reality change. God of the music, time for a change. Hop back your mind, knowledge to the brain. Sick with the flow, you can make it rain. Delete all your fears, life is just a game. My collar, you know what I mean? I'm living in a spaceship, trying to earn my spaceship. Living in a matrix, my collar, you know what I mean? I'm living in a spaceship, trying to earn my spaceship. Living in a matrix. We are energy, so we will never die. Chasing the God, touch planets and stay high. Original design. Ooh, I'm so fly. Been on the block with them killer bee, Africanized. Color doesn't exist. Word to the wise, it's just to the skies. It's all in your mind. Ain't no reality. You can't climb. Welcome to that sublime. Blowing on that fine line. California sunshine. Mother Earth, her time. Lean back, hot fly. Love music won't stop. Riverside.
My bad, I had the mic muted. So, British support for Tecumseh's Confederacy, who opposed U.S. colonial settlement in Old Northwest. So, the mandate that they had. Now, this is where it gets deep. Let me get. Hold on. Matter of fact, let me give honors to the prophet before I just get to talking like this. So, honors to the prophet Noble Drew Ali. This was revealed by him, according to the quotes of the prophet. Let me not just act like this is just written in stone, but according to the quotes of the prophet, there was a mandate given to the Europeans by the Moroccan government, giving them permission to build here. Not the U.S. The U.S. are not Europeans. The U.S. was started by George Washington and them. They were born over here. A lot of them were white slaves. They were in the military or they were servants. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to get the Blue Bible first and break that science down. The white slaves were naturalized in 1790. And they were given land that was won in war. So the Europeans were given a mandate to establish land here by the Moroccan government, according to the prophet. In quote to the prophet, right? Now, part of that mandate meant that they were not given permission to go west of the Mississippi River. But the Moors had permission to go west of the Mississippi River. That's why the Spanish crown could, because they had the Moors with them. That's why the French crown could. And they could barely go over to like the Haiti side. But that's why they organized the Louisiana Purchase to fake it like they had permission. But the point is, the British were trying to stop them from going that far because they didn't have permission to go that far. They knew they weren't supposed to. So, tensions originated in long-standing differences over territorial expansion in North America and British support for Tecumseh's Confederacy, who opposed U.S. colonial settlement in the Old Northwest. These escalated in 1807 after the Royal Navy began enforcing tighter restrictions on American trade with France and press gang the men they claimed as British subjects, even those with American citizenship. So, if you ask me, that Great Fire was the U.S. way of breaking down their central government, because Detroit, if you ask me, was the center before they had to read the bill that was Tippecanoe, Prophet's Town, and they burnt that down. They had the War of 1812. So that's from the French and Indian Wars. So these fires, they've been going on. That was just the point I was trying to make. I yield the floor.
No, I'm listening. You know, that's very interesting. Also, when we talk about different books, I guess I got to remove it. But you're speaking on them using fire to destroy a group of people's central government. So that would mean that that's an intelligent attack, correct?
Oh, no, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Strategic. So this is a book called One World, One America, Tartarians and the Moors, y'all. So you guys see how the landmasses were connected? And so when we talk about these various burnings of cities, we also need to start bringing up something called world fairs. I want everybody watching this to look up world fairs, and you're going to start seeing burning of all these advanced structures throughout the Americas that the so-called Europeans did when they arrived. So when we talk about fires being burnt, let's go into what we're calling, once again, the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, which they used fire to destroy groups of people's cities. So right here, it says smoke billowing over Tulsa, Oklahoma during the 1921 massacre. So right here, once again, we're showing pure evidence of tactical military strategies that have been pushed on Aboriginal people, indigenous people, but now the government is attacking all citizens, because eventually you're going to learn that regardless if you classify yourself as white, the government doesn't care about you either. They look at you as property, as sheep, as a number. And once again, for me, this is all about the robot rollout. All about the robot rollout. So what they need is to create hysteria and fear to eventually certain people will have jobs, certain people will be at home, whether that's through digital media, working for AI, or in the virtual reality headsets. And that's why they say they're creating these fires for smart cities, y'all. So, and then coincidentally, we need to start getting ready on January 25th. All planets in the solar system will align and be visible in the night sky. So according to certain prophecies and according to certain writings from the ancients, when all the planets are aligned, there's supposed to be an arrival. Now, I'm not sure if it's this exact date, but I do remember studying when certain cultures said that the planets were aligned and a certain star would be there, that's when it would be the arrival. So maybe this could possibly be preparing us for certain things, you know, like we were talking about Project Bluebeam in other past episodes. So what do you feel about that, Brother Cripjesus? Do you have any knowledge on the stars being aligned when it comes to maybe the Moors, Islam, or different teachings? Because we know that when we speak of the Polaris star or the actual cross, y'all, that's all about constellations. It's all about up. So even when they say, I won't reveal too many secrets, but go ahead.
Well, in relation to all that's going on right now, I would say that I look at that as a good thing. You know, that's some alignment. And the reason why we see so much is feeling like so much of the old regime is falling apart is because there's a new regime coming in. And while that's good and that's fresh, you know, there's a lot of us that have been taken on a slave mind frame through this technology, and we're kind of waiting for this great moment to come where everything is going to change and we're just going to walk outside and it's going to be rainbows. And that's not what's coming. What's coming is a new mentality, you know what I mean, where we're going to separate from this beast and this machine, and we're going to return to nature in the natural way. And we got to be ready for these powers. We got to be ready for these responsibilities and these energies and this work we got to do, you know what I mean? So I hope y'all out there getting ready for this new world that's coming. I know I've been feeling it, I'm happy about it, but I've been feeling too, it's a lot of responsibility coming because, you know, it's a lot going on right now. You know, we need to be able to help out. We need to be able to pitch in. We need to be able to stay positive. We need to be able to be cognitive about, you know, type of messages we're spreading and what we're putting out into the universe. Sound-wise, vision-wise, even mentally, our thoughts. There's a lot going on right now. So I hope y'all being responsible, especially with these devices we have. Are y'all causing more trauma than peace? You know what I mean? Are you feeding into the machine and putting out negative messages and my morning and all these fires? Oh my God! Are you getting so into your ego that you're making it more about your funky attitude and actually helping somebody? Or are you using the machines to help somebody? You know? Yeah, because if you think about it, it's not like when the machines first was, you know, it was a kind of a currency about 10, 15 years ago when we were all kind of new to social media. It was kind of more fun and mystical and exciting. And now you see a lot of people complaining, but they're still there. So that means it's normalized now. So when stuff like this happens, what side of it are we feeding into? Are we part of the algorithm that makes more people cry and worry and get scared and feel like, oh my God, they're coming to get us. What do we do? Look at this video I just watched. See, they're saying this, they're saying that. And it's really just me saying it, right? I'm giving you more of the negativity, right? So we got to ask ourselves, what are we adding on to?
I can dig it, brother. So I'll ask you this question. Do we live in the Matrix? And you see, we got this picture up, y'all. So asking the audience, do we live in the Matrix? You guys comment in the chat. Do you believe that we live in a simulation? And for me, this is the holodeck. The sun, the plants, the moon, the body, that is the atoms, photons, neurons, and electrons of the video game we're in. But inside that, they take us out of the netters, the nature, and they put us in these cities. And these cities are actual prisons of the mind, body, soul, and spirit to trap us, to make us believe that these avatars are all that exists, and that there's nothing beyond the realm or veil of the reality that they have given us. So for me, when I speak of the Matrix, it also speaks of us coming through the womb into this game. And so when we come through the womb, the question will lie, well, if we come through the womb, the womb man, where does she come from? Where do our mothers come from? So if there's pyramids and temples and underground tunnels, that meant that someone's mother had this information as well. And so that's imperative of learning our culture again. Because for me, the hieroglyphs are the instructions on how to play the Matrix. Just like when you purchase a video game, there's instructions. You can freestyle it. I remember we would freestyle it and not have to play or read the instructions. But if you read the instructions, you'd be like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. And you're probably better. So when we're around here running butt naked with information in our heads from K through 12 that taught us that we were less than and gave us a false ideology of ourselves, but we also see this so-called world burning down, a lot of our brothers and sisters are going to get lost in these new timelines. The presidential election is coming up. Who knows what's going to happen with that? I would say something, but I'm not going to say it out loud. But if there were for something to happen during that, that would cause mass hysteria. This is why they use Hollywood to predict if there were ever an earthquake that they seem to have created a plan for. I always say if they showed us Hurricane Katrina, I want everyone to watch the movie called Escape from LA. And so this is why it's time to start building our communities. This is why they created the so-called Black and Mexican beef, is because they knew that if the so-called Black and Mexicans, the Moors and Moors and the Aboriginal people got along, we wouldn't be worried about the destruction of the European. We would be more in a celebration and embrace the time where the planets are aligning, where certain fires are going to take place, where certain winds, earth shifts, glaciers melting. All these things are going to take place as the mother crafts come closer, as they start appearing more. And once again, this is why they're using the drone technology to survey the land. A lot of the fires are being started through these drones. You watch the TV shows, you watch the sci-fi series. They show you in the military videos that they have drones that connect guns. They have drones that shoot fire. So we know that this is happening. And then we see an orchestrated effort throughout Southern California. We know it's usually not people like us, right? So this is why it's imperative to form our communities. Health and wellness. If you notice on the news, they're also showing you that a lot of the food recalls, a lot of the vegetables are being recalled, not just eggs, not just the meat. So now we have to start thinking, what would happen if there's no more Rouse or Stater Brothers? Where are people going to eat? That's when the FEMA camps start coming in. That's when the robots start coming in, y'all. That's when you start seeing all these empty warehouses and what they're going to be used for. And it's not a fear-based tactic. It's built for us so we can build our communities. For I feel that the more we start talking about the pyramids and spaceships, is the more the beehive connects. The more the conversations of leaving here to another landmass, getting picked up by advanced crafts of our ancestors, that becomes a reality. So when we think enough of the mother wheel and think enough of the spacecrafts, we, through telepathy, call on these vehicles that are controlled by us and our so-called friends and family to come. So this is what it's all about. It's all about higher levels of cosmic thought, cosmic consciousness, so we can vibrate to these frequencies like a radio station and start making direct contact with our extraterrestrial family, with the mother will, so we can get direct information. That's why you're going to be hearing more ringtones, and you're going to have to be able to decipher the ringtone messages, which are great and good, versus those frequencies that the government's going to be shooting out, telling people to do certain things like they do underneath the music. Just like why they show you all these violent video games, violent movies, for all of us to go to war with each other. That's the goal. So at this time, we're all supposed to be unifying, not based off of your color, but off of integrity, off of love. But they put so much poison in the food, in the sky, in our minds, that we can't, not can't, there's a lack of community. There's a lack of love in the air. There's a lack of trust for our fellow man and sister. And that's how they can take over, by creating certain events to where they control the food, they control the water, and then they're able to bring out the robots and enslave humans. And then the whole color spectrum won't freaking matter. This is what we're dealing with, y'all. Plan government control over your mind, over freedom of speech, and also having the discernment to learn from the misinformation that is about to be flooded on the airwaves through the internet, because Mark Zuckerberg first just showed you that they took off the equity and equal act programs that they had that was assisting the Matrix University with virtual reality. So now you're telling us that brothers who are getting their doctorate, F you. We don't care about equity. We don't want so-called black men and women in the virtual reality space, because they're going to use the digital world to separate us economically. And if you cannot afford to build a metaverse, if you can't afford to build a virtual reality world, guess what? You're going to be working for them, and most likely an AI robot. It's here. I'm Jason. July, August, September, October, November. I plug in to this video game once in a while. Probably clearly different avatars, but whatever frequency, Jason or Elm Street, whatever that holds, whatever came in, I'm here teaching that we're in a hologram, teaching we're in a video game. So now that we have an opportunity to break free from the prison, now that we see that throughout time they create fires, they create earthquakes, they create these things leading up to the reset. But if we, the people, can unify enough to come together on common ground, that we all are under attack, and that you cannot die in the sense of your consciousness. So when you learn about school, the school isn't just graduating for their institution, it's graduating from the universe, the university. The universe is a university of thought, which they call Tahuti or Thoth, you know. And so thought, how a man thinketh, so he shall be. So when we know and think as gods of high intellectual properties of science, math, being the plants, being the bees, being the air, being the wind, air, fire, earth, wind, we become captain of our own planet, restoring the seas, restoring the ocean, restoring love, to when you can go outside, no matter what color you are, you're going to be able to read someone's aura and vibration, because this is just light, y'all. These are atoms, photons, and neurons spinning in different directions, vibrating light, holding the true self inside of you. Breathe in, breathe out. That lets you know the spirit, the breath that is fueling the fire inside of you. So you have a fire, as you know, an ether burning inside of you, a sun burning inside of you, projecting this. So the moment we have our land back, we're able to have our hot saunas, our hot springs. We're able to build our pyramids, because the pyramids are not only stargates, these are professional astral projection machines, y'all. Yes, came to me. So imagine you being the ball and you sitting inside of the pyramids with certain stones and granite, underneath water, certain minerals, with the shaft moving certain ways, and you laid down, and these shafts pointing to Orion's belt, Draco, and different kinds, and you sitting down through the humming, and then you got to remember the pillars, the sound pillars are hitting. So just like a sound bowl. Oh, well, hold on. If I could get this real quick. Now imagine the giant pillar sound bowls that you see activating the pyramid, and you're inside it. You're now able to astral project and go to these land masses, or what they will call Orion's belt, or go home. Since we weren't able to go home physically, probably because they destroyed the Stargate or the physical way to go. So for some of us who got trapped here, we were able to build pyramids to phone home. So while you're able to lay on a sarcophagus type healing table, you were able to have certain sounds into your body, and you could astral project. And that's when you start learning about the not just ayahuasca, but the psilocybin. And so imagine when you're on that level of eating the psilocybin, on how you learn that time collapses, and that so-called man, the system is giving you time, like Moon Day, Monday, Saturday, 3 p.m., all these time loops that are artificial. But when you eat from the funky fungus or psilocybin or plant medicine, or even smoking your herb, you see time collapse. That's why they say that CPT time, color people's time, because we are on a different timeline than everybody else. That's why they give us these age numbers. So when you're on that level of the Scooby Snacks, right, the Smurf Village, if you know what I mean, when you're on that, imagine being in the pyramid and it vibrating. And now you're able to safely leave your body and project your consciousness to another star system, experience that life, and then project that consciousness, what you learned from the mother craft or different planets, and you bring that consciousness back into your so-called avatar. And that's what us as elite were doing. Not only were we able to walk physically through the Stargate with certain oils and certain garments that we would have to wear probably through the radiation, we were also able to project our bodies using these. And also when we got trapped here, the sarcophaguses, what you see underneath this, imagine the gold 20-foot sarcophaguses that were healing chambers. So just like in the movie Stargate, when the Pharaoh Ra was hit by the government with the laser beam, they put him in the closed sarcophagus. He came out and he was healed, because you're made up of atoms, photons, neurons, atom. You are made up of a tone, a frequency. And so basically they'll put you in the cube and then you get projected here. The difference is that many people who you come across are not real people. They were created here in the Matrix hologram, while some of us are creators of the video game, who created the sun, who were able to create the plant and air, and then project ourselves in our video game to experience what we created, while having the knowledge and science to create other beings inside of the video game. And then we'll start getting on what happened when we fell further in frequency and became trapped in the computer, what we call Tron. And so learn about Metatron or Megatron.
Got you, son.
Yo, what's up? It's Jason, the God MC, better known as Elm Street. We out here in Africa, Plano, Egypt, about to open the stargates. You already know everything is atoms, photons, neurons, electrons. So we're gonna turn around right here, and we're gonna show you the Great Pyramid. That's the Great Pyramid. I'm the Great Pyramid. You're the Great Pyramid. We're living it up. Shout out to Toronto, US, Africa, Brazil.
Jane Street finest, man. Jane Street County Collection, Toronto. Out here, banging against the system, too. Hey. See that?
You know?
You gotta do one of those.
I love you, brother. We can play that one more time. That's me at the Giza Pyramid Complex. So when you look at the pyramid complex, look at the ruins. It looks blown off, not just chiseled. So imagine the limestone. Imagine the different crystals that truly align that land and how you were vibrating on a frequency and you were able to be in that being. You were able to live on that high frequency of vibration. So now you understand that there are your ancestors that exist on a higher frequency right now, that once we start learning to eat better, breathe better, think better, be at peace, we'll be able to uplift our vibration and what I would say disappear from the normal person's naked eye. That's why when you do eat the plant medicine, or like they put on the shades in the movie They Live or the movie 13 Ghosts, when you put on certain glasses, you're able to see the light at a different spectrum and you're able to see the entities that are around you. That's why when certain people eat the plant medicine or different psychedelics, if their mind isn't together or if they do not have a correct shaman next to them, they'll start saying that they see beings, monsters, depending on where their love is at. This is because there's beings and entities all around us. This is what your dog is looking at, your cat is looking at. All of these other beings have worlds that we can communicate with. This is why in ancient Tamare Kemet, we had Thebes, which was the bees. So a city where you could go and study how to cultivate the bee. And so learn about the culture of the beehive. Thebes, Memphis. There's also a Memphis in Tennessee. You feel me? So right here in Amaruca, Amorica, this land right here, we already have proof of our advanced cultures in science. Learn about the maze, not just to crop the maze, but trying to escape the maze. Learn about crop circles. Learn about the labyrinth. Watch the movie Westworld Season 1 on HBO so you can have a comprehension or understanding what they're trying to show you. Watch the movie The Labyrinth with David Bowie. You have to start looking at the symbolism where they spend millions and billions of dollars to produce these films in Hollywood. They don't do it for no reason. And if you do your research, you'll find out that the CIA and the government are involved in the majority of films, whether it's Top Gun, Transformers, Men in Black. That's because these extraterrestrial events are occurring every single day. But you have been distracted. There's motherships every day in the sky, but you have been distracted. So it is people now coming online, and then there's people who are simply talking about spacecrafts because it's cool or because it's flooding everyone's timeline, versus those who have been in this matrix hologram before, who have played the game, mastered the game, and able to plug back in. The difference is...
Got you, son.
Yo, what's up? It's Jason, the God MC, better known as Elm Street. We out here in Africa, Plano, Egypt, about to open the stargates. You already know everything is atoms, photons, neurons, electrons. So we're gonna turn around right here, and we're gonna show you the
Need that.
You know?
You gotta do one of those.
And so, right here, this is the elm tree. This is the bark of the elm tree. So when you see an elm street throughout America, it's where originally they found the elm tree. The tree used by the Moors and Moors and the Aboriginals to practice their magic in the dream world, where the funky fungus grows. Learn about the elm tree. So in Hollywood, instead of love and creativity and imagination in the dream world, they replaced that with Freddy Krueger. And you know what Hollywood represents: pedophilia, murder. So they use Hollywood to enter your subconscious because you're in a dream, you're in a nightmare right now. Until we are free as a people, we are living in someone else's dream, which is our nightmare. So in order to be free is when you wake up free on your land to practice your culture in peace, to be able to build once again our pyramids, to heal ourselves so we can live 300, 500 years, 3,000 years old. When you learn about avatars, that's what they're trying to do now. Elon Musk, they're trying to replace our science with theirs, but they want to plug in your consciousness, not in the Akashic records, but in the computer, inside their simulation computer. But we're already inside a computer. But if you walk around not knowing that you're in a computer, you then can be deceived. You then can be told that you can die, that you're 24, 32, that it's Monday, Sunday, Christmas, New Year's. They can manipulate your experience in the video game. And then if you happen to die and your consciousness is not to a certain level in the so-called spirit realm, you cannot graduate and you get trapped in the video game. And that's what they want. They want you to perish, not knowing you're in a matrix hologram. So if you happen to die, you don't know what to do and they trap you here. That's why they give you the image of a pale-skinned god. So when you see these entities on the other side, you go towards them and they snatch your soul. Instead of knowing the discernment when you see your ancestors on the other side. This is why they have made it illegal for you to eat your plant medicine, because the medicine, medicine, the serpent is within us. We are the plant. We are green originally. That's why when you see Osiris or Osar on the walls of ancient Tamare, Kemet, you see him as green. I've seen it. I've seen the blue black brothers. I've seen the pitch black brothers. I've seen them opening up stargates with draconians coming out and African sisters giving them gifts. I've also seen statues of draconians, humanoid reptiles next to brothers and sisters. So now we learn about mating. We learn about sex. Learn about King Sobek. K-I-N-G, King, S-O-B-E-K. King Sobek of ancient Kemet Tamare. This is a draconian that mated with African women, Tamarean women, and had children. Therefore, some of us are truly extraterrestrial. Some of us are born what they now call starseeds, are born what they label as ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder. But in all actuality, those born and labeled with ADHD are tapped into a higher frequency that a normal person cannot touch. So we are able to bring down knowledge, teachings from higher realms that the average person cannot. And this is why they put these children and adults on medicine. This is why they create religions and give you pictures of these false deities that do not look like us. But when we come down onto this planet, heart or earth, they do not recognize us. They murder us. They destroy us. And so the people aren't able to advance when we return amongst them, because they give you a celebrity. They give you your superstar, when in all actuality, your gods and messiahs are your local celebrities. The people who brought consciousness without selling their soul when they made it to that level and came back to the community with upliftment. These are your gods. Not the gods who went to Hollywood and made money and behind closed doors did things they cannot be celebrated with when they go to the other side. It's your celebrities and local celebrities who did not sell their soul, who created a trailblazer, a pioneer. These are your gods, not the celebrities in Hollywood where they use the Hollywood tree for magic. These are your magic wands. Right here. The crystals are inside of you. You are the pyramid. Breathe in, breathe out, like Karate Kid taught you. Watch the movie Bloodsport and understand the teachings of how we must protect our sacred arts. For we now know what happens when we give away our art to those who do not love us. So now we are living in a time where us as serpents, us as nagas, must shed our skin, because this is our new world. This is our world. The reptilians, the intelligent dinosaurs, the cuckoo, boom, 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 boom. That's how we speak. That's how we communicate. These words were made for the caveman or the less intelligent. So it allows us not to be able to practice our telepathy, our psychic abilities. These cell phones were used to cut off your superpowers, because back in the day, when you didn't have a cell phone, when you thought of someone, you got a call on that ring phone and said, man, I was just thinking about you. So they're using these technologies to strip you of your so-called godly superhero powers so they can control you. This is why we must have our separation, so we can have our own food without poison, our own farms without poison, to where we can dig deep in the ground, have natural springs, and create our own lakes and rivers, our own temples and schools of thought. And then we'll be able to create and produce our own technology, our own foods and crops to trade with the rest of the nations of the world. And that's when we, as Aboriginal people, Moors and Moors, Nubians, Nubians, get the respect from all nations on what we call Earth and outside of what they call the ice wall. Underneath the sea and so above will come assist us. That is now. Jason, am here. I'm here. So that's what I'm doing. We're in the process of living it. We're living it. We have a virtual reality school. Whether you're in Chicago, New Orleans, Africa, you'll be able to tune in to Brother Cripjesus, Professor Lana, Professor Dean of the University, Jason E. Williams, soon to be Doctor of Education by law. We have a 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit. We need donations, not for money, to build up the land. because I'm going to do it. I've been to Tamaray. I've been to Kemet. I created it before, and I can do it again. We can do it again. Simple land, excavation, certain crystals on top to resonate, certain corners bent, and now you're astral projecting. Now you're getting information from the ethers, the true library. This is why they burnt down the physical library, so we could really get showtime and activate our DNA, which has an infinite library. That's why they're creating AI and artificial intelligence, because they're trying to mimic you. You are the supreme intelligence. You are the all. You are the dog. You are the atomic dog. Spelt left to right is God. Anpu, Anu, Anubis, Haru, superhero, God of the underworld, the Scorpion King. That's who I am. October, right here in the flesh. So our culture exists right now. So you must remember the time. But the time is now. Community building, culture building, remembering the time when you built your pyramid. So we can call on the mother will. You just have to know it, not believe it. You know it by studying your culture. So when I go boom, boom, cuckoo, those are tones and frequencies of Mikataragunda. You see the tone in that? It says, hi, I'm Jason E. Williams. Welcome to the Matrix University. You know? So these words and tones trap us in these time loops, in these prisons. So that's why we must build and come together to build up the land. Because they do plan to enslave you. And for you so-called black people, they plan to kill you. Everyone hates you right now because you won't stand up and be God. The world is suffering because you don't want to be God. You want to worship a word called God instead of being the atomic dog, the serpent. You feel me? The Nagasaki. When they look in your eyes and see flames of fire. Voice of thunder. They fear that. They fear high intelligence. They don't fear niggers. You are the Most High. And together we form Voltron. You are in a computer game. We are living in a matrix. I am Jason. So yeah, we can keep getting into it. We got brother Cripjesus still here.
Yeah, no, brother, that was powerful. That was powerful for real.
Peace, God. Do I press in recording? Are we still going?
We still going, but you know, salute to the people. Let's give them something to walk about here with.
Welcome to the world famous King Tut Museum. Be sure to respect the ancient relics. The ancient Egyptians were a magical people who built numerous beautiful, magnificent structures. like the world-famous pyramids and temples. No running inside. Scientists till this very day still do not know how the Egyptians built the pyramids.
I wonder, did aliens ever visit ancient Egypt?
Wow, look at that giant Egyptian statue. It looks just like you, Jason.
Thanks, Toby. You're a super cool friend. Imagine what the world would look like if I was the pharaoh.
Jason, you are daydreaming. Wake up.
Sorry, history got away from me.